We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Renner. I thought I'd never see you again, man. It was tough. It was tough. We went through 2 weeks. Anthony Tresh, Kadarius Toney. He did a really good job in your absence. A lot of people liked him. Good positive comments on YouTube, positive comments on the podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review. But it's good to have you back, man. We needed you back.
You didn't think you thought I was going to die from COVID?
I didn't think you were going to die from COVID.
You just thought you'd never see me again, I guess. You were talking all sweet about Notre Dame, so obviously you didn't think I'd be back.
I have to apologize to the Golden Domer faithful. Brady Quinn, if you're listening, which I know you are, every other Notre Dame fan, I thought it was going to be a Clemson blowout. And I will say this, it wasn't a blowout, but I still think they should have won that game.
You keep saying it's fluky.
It's fluky.
It's fluky all you want.
The Travis Etienne fumble was ridiculous. The Amari Rodgers fumble, you don't bank on those happening. Those are volatile.
But it was a Jeremiah Usu-Koramoah made a play. That's a talented NFL player. He said it was not a called blitz. He knew what the play was.
The biggest disaster in that game was the Clemson offensive coordinator. He called one of the worst games I've ever seen. You need to let DJ cook. That guy was on fire. Like he was playing him like he was a normal 18-year-old freshman quarterback when he really needed to let him rip down the field, because when they were having success was pushing the ball downfield. And Notre Dame, as fast as that defense is, as talented as it is, you saw them winning downfield. But when they tried to run the football, Travis Etienne was finding no yards before contact, really struggled to get things going. He obviously fumbled the ball in that pitch as well. Congrats to Notre Dame. Best career game for Ian Book, too. I mean, I think Ian Book looks way better than ever before.
Yeah. It's still not like enough for me to put him in as an actual NFL prospect. He still
I freaking hope not. You would have had to take that damn shirt off.
That guy is not like the arm strength is still a massive concern. But the poise he played with was even
after that fumble too. Yeah. I thought he fumbled the game away. I thought that was it.
Yeah, and they had to have it, and he brought it. So. Man, that was insane, though. Like, that was the best Notre Dame game probably of my life that I've witnessed. That was just, knocking off the number one team at home. It was pretty dope.
Before we get into the 2021 mock draft and the rest of the segments here, I want to highlight and a low light from your 2 weeks away from the podcast, battling back from COVID.
There weren't a lot of highlights. I'll just keep it real. It was like, it lasted a lot longer. Like, I was knocked on my ass for like a week straight with COVID of just not being able to really do much. So that sucked. But then the highlight was definitely Notre Dame winning on Saturday.
It's a big one. It was a big one. All right, let's get into your mock draft here. You can go check out Mike Renner's latest mock draft on PFF.com. He goes through all 32 first-round picks here. Starting, I'm going to read 5 picks. We're going to dive into it a little bit, and then we're going to read the next 5 picks. Make sure we get every single pick read on the podcast here. Starting with number 1, the New York Jets take Trevor Lawrence of Clemson, surprising no one. The New York Giants at number 2 take Justin Fields. Abandon the Daniel Jones project. You could probably get a second-rounder for him at least. I mean, if Josh Rosen could get a second-rounder, I think you could get a second-rounder for Daniel Jones. Number 3 overall, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Zach Wilson of BYU, not Trey Lance of North Dakota State. Zach Wilson, the BYU kid, the Mormon Montana, the Mormon Manziel, the Mormon Mahomes. He's got every single nickname right now. I'm telling you, I see it on Twitter. He has every single Mormon Marino. Neil Hornsby, founder of PFF, is calling him the Mormon Marino. It's incredible. But Zach Wilson goes to the Jaguars there at 3. Miami Dolphins via the Houston Texans take Oregon offensive tackle Penei Sewell. And at 5, the Dallas Cowboys, wild that they're picking at 5, but they're picking at 5. Tight end Kyle Pitts of Florida. Tight end asterisk, because this guy can play wide receiver. He can do it in the slot. Let's start with the QBs here. First 3 picks are all quarterbacks. We don't have to dive into Trevor Lawrence a ton. I think that one is a given, regardless of how he rebounds from COVID. But let's talk about Justin Fields at 2 and Zach Wilson at 3.
Yeah, the Fields one, I think he's playing his way into, putting it in pen that he's going to be the second quarterback drafted off the board, or the first if someone likes him over Trevor Lawrence. Like, I think he's 3 straight games of elite 90+ grades start off this season, really not missing many throws. The only sort of knock in his game through 3 weeks is holding on to the ball still. That's still what he does. Like, that might just be who he is, but I don't think that's a huge issue with how athletic he is and how accurate he is with the football. So he's there too. And the Giants' decision, like, if they're drafting at 2 this year, which obviously they're still in line to draft at 2, or no, after the win this week, I think they're not in line anymore to draft at 2. But if they get into a top 3 pick and they have a chance on one of these quarterbacks, one, I don't think Dave Gettleman's going to be there as GM. You can't go backwards every single year in your GM tenure for 3 straight years and expect to stay on as GM. So I don't think he'd be there in that point. No one's tied to Daniel Jones. I think they would be willing to move on. But you have to be willing to move on from Daniel Jones. Like, his sort of ceiling, I don't know what it is, but we've never seen him play elite football. Not even at college, not at any point, in his NFL career. There's been flashes for games, and they haven't even been that dominant in performances in any single games. He just beats up on the Washington football team. That's it. That's the only team he looks good against. Everyone else, he just does not look like a franchise-type NFL quarterback. So if the reports that they're holding on to him and are going to have him as their starter heading into 2021 are just absurd to me. Yeah. That's just not where the NFL games go. You have to recognize and be willing to, I don't want to say give up on these quarterbacks right away, but recognize that a lot of these guys you're hitting within your first 2 years or you're not hitting. You cannot keep pinning your hopes to these guys. So that one, I
love that Daniel Jones stat, by the way. He's 4-0 in his career against the Washington football team and or Washington, profound name. He's 1-13 or 1-16 17. Against every other team. Yeah. And the only other win he has is where he threw for a single game high passing yards under pressure. The most we've ever seen in the PFF era, dating back to 2006. So a very volatile, fluky win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that game. Very insane in terms of like the teams he's beat. It's a wild stat line for Daniel Jones.
Yeah. But so off the Giants though, and on to Zach Wilson, because that's obviously the headliner here. BYU QB. This is real. Like, after his win against Boise State, he is a legitimate top 5 pick type of prospect in this class. Arm strength, mobility, accuracy. He has shown it all this year. Level competition, it's not good. But when you look at what guys like Josh Allen and Jordan Love did against similar competition in the Mountain West, night and day. Zach Wilson looks the much, much better prospect compared to those two guys and what they did coming out. And then obviously Josh Allen went top 10. Jordan Love still goes first round, and you can get seriously consider Zach Wilson to be QB3, and most people are coming around to that at the moment.
Zach Wilson right now leads all college quarterbacks in PFF passing grade at 94.2, 18 big-time throws, just 3 turnover-worthy plays. And like you said, the arm talent is there. The athleticism is there. He's making it out of structure. And I thought they were only 3-point favorites on the road against a very good Boise State team on the blue turf. And that defense was heralded going in, and he just lit him up. It wasn't even close. It was a very dominant display. And even you said this, I think Anthony Tresh said this, if he goes into Boise State and puts on a show like he did, he'd start entering that QB3 conversation. He obviously did in your latest mock draft, and I think other people are getting around to it as well. Any thoughts before we move on the Penei Sewell to Miami Dolphins? I think that makes sense, even though they just drafted Austin Jackson of USC. He has not looked great out of the gate. I think when you have an opportunity to bring in a generational offensive tackle prospect, as you've stated with Penei Sewell, I think you do it. And then for Kyle Pitts, first skill player off the board, are we committing to that right now?
That one I'm not 100%
That's a little hot. That's
sold
a little
on.
hot.
But I think he is that type of talented that someone's going to fall in love with him in the top 10 cervix. If TJ Hawkinson goes 8, Kyle Pitts deserves to go.
I don't know if that's a comparison.
I don't know if that's fair,
comparison.
but yeah.
That's funny. Number 6, the Atlanta Falcons take linebacker Micah Parsons of Penn State. Number 7, Washington football team take quarterback Trey Lance of North Dakota State. If they're picking at 7 and still have an opportunity to take Trey Lance, I think that's a good move for that team.
Yeah.
Number 8, Los Angeles Chargers take edge defender Kwity Paye of Michigan. And New England Patriots at 9 take wide receiver Jamar Chase. That would be a treat. Jamar Chase of LSU opted out of the 2020 season, but man, is a stud. And we saw that with Joe Burrow in 2019. Number 10, Minnesota Vikings take edge defender Gregory Rousseau, another 2020 opt-out of Miami, Florida. I want to start with Trey Lance going to the Washington football team. Mm-hmm. He was the quarterback 3 entering the season. We talked to Daniel Jeremiah before the season. He said he's borderline quarterback 2 for him. You see Daniel Jeremiah just recently tweeting, okay, I'm getting around on this Zach Wilson kid. I think you could start to see a shuffle for him. I don't think I don't want to bring up the Central Arkansas game. It is not the Central Arkansas game that is driving down Trey Lance's stock and driving up Zach Wilson's ahead of him. It is the fact that the same reasons we had concerns going in, the sample size, 18 dropbacks a game in 2019, didn't get a chance to play more than one game in 2020, and the level of competition is still bad. And you saw him grade well, of course, and he's got the arm talent. You made the comparison to Taysom Hill, but with a better arm. Does he get outside the top 10 with some of this, or do you still think the tools are enough? What we've seen is enough for the North Dakota State prospect?
I think what we've seen is enough. It's more than supply and demand at that point. What teams are going to be in the top 10 needing a quarterback, wanting to go get a quarterback? I think Washington 100% is one of those teams at this point. They've all but given up on Dwayne Haskins. Kyle Allen, I mean, he had just a serious injury this past week also. He's not the quarterback of the future. I think everyone can recognize that in Washington, even as much as they do love him. Trey Lance, the biggest thing right now with him is he's just not going to have played football in a year. And when he did play football, like you said, 371 career dropbacks. That is not a lot. That is, half a season at Washington State. Compared to like that's just not a lot of football to see a guy play at the quarterback position where sample sizes matter and performing over a large number of games matters, and we just haven't seen that with him. So I think that's the biggest worry. But the tools are there that someone's going to still fall in love with, and with good reason. They're pretty prodigious.
The draft's not going to shake out this way, but how it's currently projected, I think the Atlanta Falcons, who you have taking Micah Parsons, a very good linebacker prospect, I think there's a chance they swing the bat on Trey Lance at 6. Then you have the football team taking Lance. The Chargers, as much as as well as Justin Herbert played, I don't see them taking a quarterback. But the Patriots at 9 are another team that you could see if Trey Lance fell to 9 and the Patriots are taking there. I think they're another team that would swing the bat. And then you have the Vikings at 10, who they just won this past week. They're not going to be picking inside the top 10 most likely, but that's another football team that I think there's a ton of football teams, even with Matt Ryan under center, Kirk Cousins under center, Cam Newton. I think there's teams that want to swing the bat.
Every time you keep saying football team, I just keep thinking of Washington.
Yeah.
When you say there's a ton of football teams.
Oh, true.
There's only one.
That's a tough one. Some of these other picks, what I was saying is that there's a lot of teams that would swing the bat in a quarterback if they're drafting in the top 10. I think in the past it's been, they don't need a quarterback. This guy's still progressing. I think a lot of teams are in that position where their quarterback is aging, or they're 2 years in or 1 year into a rookie quarterback or a young quarterback that's not panning out.
And this is a different conversation kind of altogether, but I do wonder if you see Tua Tagovailoa look great this past week. Justin Herbert's obviously looked great the entire year. If you do see teams, you had Washington and you had Detroit and you had the Giants, whatever, but you had those teams pass on 2 quarterbacks that now look like franchise quarterbacks that look like guys that they would rather have Washington and Detroit than who they have right now with what they're playing. So I do wonder if you'll see teams more willing to say someone like the Atlanta Falcons, we have Matt Ryan, but we bottomed out and we have this top 10 pick and a chance at a quarterback. Maybe we swing that bat there because of how valuable that position is. Knowing that, even if we hit on a guy like a Micah Parsons, it's not going to move the needle near what a guy like Trey Lance can do for us.
Number 11, the Cincinnati Bengals take offensive tackles.
One more guy I wanted to hit on here, because Kwity Paye, first edge off the board after how he's played to start this season. I think that one is
his technique is so
likely.
much improved. I don't understand. He is winning with pass rush moves we simply did not see in 2019, and I don't understand how it happened. How do you improve that much in an abbreviated offseason? I am blown away by how much better he looks this year. Yeah. There are moves again you did not see in 2019 that he's pulling off.
And it's another conversation like the Zach Wilson versus Trey Lance, where it's if you're an NFL GM and you just saw a guy do it for a whole fall on the football field at a high level. In the Big Ten compared to Gregory Rousseau, who sat at home all fall. I mean, he sat
who had similar concerns to Kwity.
And had similar he didn't have an elite production profile back in 2019. Probably going to lean, when it's 2 freak athletes, you're going to lean towards the guy who you just saw do it.
Plus, Paye's got the better story, man. Former Rhode Island running back, 3-star recruit.
They both have cool names, though.
They do have cool names.
Name scouting, I think that's a wash.
That's fair. Cincinnati Bengals picking at 11 in this mock draft. They take offensive tackle Sam Cosmi of Texas. Uber athletic offensive tackle there. Pair him up with Jonah Williams, who very much has looked the part when healthy this year.
Yeah.
Number 12, Carolina Panthers take Patrick Surtain of Alabama. 13, edge defender Jason Owe, Penn State. 13. That's high, Mike. I like it. 14, Denver Broncos take linebacker Dylan Moses of Alabama. And 15, San Francisco 49ers, cornerback Caleb Farley, Virginia Tech. Let's start with Owe. I know the Detroit Lions love some athletes along the edge, and they've tried to throw resource at it with Trey Flowers, added Okwara. The Okwara brothers are both there. Added Danny Shelton, the former first rounder. Adding Jason Owe here. Is he instantly their best pass rusher?
I don't think so. He's still a project to me. But when you have a guy who's 6'5", 252, runs reportedly a sub 4.4, when he has that freakish of tools, and he's producing better on the football field this year, and I think even the bigger thing is he looks better against the run, looks stouter, and is playing with better leverage, I think, in that regard. That's why he couldn't even see the field in the past. I think teams are going to fall in love with those tools, even if he's not maybe producing like a Chase Young, like an elite level that you would normally think of for a top 15 pick. When you're that freak of an athlete, you're going to go top 15.
So far this year, an 80.8 PFF grade on 155 snaps and has 13 total pressures. Really lit Indiana on fire.
And the Lions, I don't know how a team has been so bad at affecting opposing offenses for so long.
I mean,
they
we talked
no
big
pass
snacks.
rush for multiple years in a row now. It's sometimes it's not a talent problem, but like they still don't have a ton of talent also.
True. You combine those two. You combine some coaching issues with some lack of talent. I mean, you're going to get a pretty dire situation. Two more names I'll bring up in this little 5-man slot here. Patrick Surtain and Caleb Farley both going inside the top 15. Are you convinced that Patrick Surtain's going to be that cornerback 1 in this class?
It's tough. He has looked very good this year. He had that loss against Tennessee, Josh Palmer, on the go route that I still don't think he's going to test great in terms of like speed wise. I think he's going to be a 4.5-ish sort of guy. I don't think he's going to run low 4.4s, which you would usually think of as a top 15 pick. But man, the sort of the pedigree there of starting fresh as a freshman year at Alabama has gotten better pretty much every single year. The size, the bloodlines. There's a lot that even if he doesn't run a 4.4, I think teams are going to say, I think this guy's going to be good in the NFL, and I don't blame him.
And what about Caleb Farley? Do you think there's a chance that he got to jump Surtain or what?
That one I don't know.
Like, Farley has the tools. Farley has the
He definitely does. He's going to run, I would imagine, the 4.3s. Great size, length. Just another guy where I wonder what the NFL is going to do with some of the opt-outs that weren't utterly dominant. Like the Penei Sewell, Micah Parsons, you don't need to see another snap of them. Those are studs. Caleb Farley, you could have seen more to really feel confident about him. So I will be interested to see how sort of the NFL sees him after that.
What has been your, sorry to deviate a little bit, talking about the cornerback class, we had Benjamin Solak on last week with talked about Shaun Wade a little bit. What was your opinion of that Penn State game where he kind of got lit up a little bit and so far this year playing outside corner? I thought so. And I'm not sure if you listened to our podcast, but with Shaun Wade, I thought the losses at the catch point are going to be the ones that get shown on the highlight reel, where he had like the 3-handed snag by Dotson. But there are a handful of times where he's playing press on the outside and the dude's just toasting him to the inside on quick slants and digs and stuff like that. That were the bigger concerns for me. And that's where I feel like Shaun Wade playing at the line of scrimmage did not show out against Dotson.
Yeah, he has the size and sort of the want to be a press corner, but even when he was playing in the slot at Ohio State, it never was great, him coming up and playing press coverage, and I think we've kind of seen that this year.
Yeah. All right, 16 through 20 here. 16, the Miami Dolphins take wide receiver Jalen Waddle of Alabama, one of my favorites in this class. 17, Las Vegas Raiders continue to throw resources along the defensive line. Defensive interior Christian Barmore of Alabama. 18, Chicago Bears take a massive riser in the pre-draft process right now. Offensive tackle Christian Darrisaw of Virginia Tech. 19, Philadelphia Eagles take your guy, linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah of Notre Dame. Unconvinced that's an upgrade over Nate Jerry, but we'll see. We'll just have to see how the tape plays.
They're like similar athletes.
And then number 20, Cleveland Browns take wide receiver Devontae Smith of Alabama. A guy that, here's another guy we talked about last week who maybe doesn't have the athleticism, the speed that people want at the receiver position, but turn on the tape. Look at the consistency in production. With Jalen Waddle out, this guy's seeing a target share that's absurd and delivering ball skills out of his mind, doesn't drop anything, even contested catch situations. He's going to be one of my favorites in this class, regardless if he doesn't test as well as some of the others in here.
I don't buy that he's not going to test that well.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And speed has not been a concern for me up until I think we saw Jim Nagy say that he's going to be a 4.5 guy. A couple other guys say he's going to be a 4.5 guy. If he clocks like a 4.55 plus, I'd be stunned. Like, he can get on top of people.
I put in my notes this 4.5 guy, like Dalvin Cook was a 4.5 guy. No one ever thought Dalvin Cook was anything other than like an elite home run threat at running back position in college. And then he runs 4.5 because, I don't know, his get off was pretty bad for a running back comparatively. But when he's at his top speed, no one's catching him, and that's kind of how I feel about Devontae Smith.
He can still win on a vertical route tree. I put it out in my notes like every week. Like you see him winning down the football field all the time and like legitimately creating separation against single coverage.
But Jalen Waddle will go ahead of him, I would bet, even after the ankle injury.
Just like Ruggs did.
He is, just because he can't teach that type of speed. Like Devontae Smith, fast enough. Jalen Waddle, different level altogether, and looked like when he was healthy this season, looked like he could actually get open on the deep route tree. Like it was actually attacking the ball well down the field. And man, pairing him up in Miami there too would be fantastic in my opinion. I hope that actually happens.
Let's talk about Darisaw a little bit. I mean, obviously a riser, a new name in this mock draft, someone we didn't highlight as a top 32 pick entering the season. What have you seen from him? Yeah,
going to Chicago Bears at 18, their O-line in shambles this year. Darisaw, massive step forward. He kind of just has that physical profile at tackle where agile, powerful, like anything you want him to do, he can do. And that goes top 15, 20 in the NFL draft because of how physically demanding a position it is. There's just not a lot of, good Lord, only made so many 6'5", 300+ dudes that can move and are strong. And he's definitely one of them at this point and has really improved in the run game from last season to this season, gotten a lot stronger, it seems.
Number 21, Jacksonville Jaguars via the Los Angeles Rams in that Jalen Ramsey trade take safety Trayvon Moehrig of TCU. Indianapolis Colts at 22 take the former 5-star freak Tyson Campbell of Georgia, who has gotten beat a bit this year. I think there's a couple reps he'd like to have back, but this is a traits league, man. Yeah, this is a tools league, especially at the cornerback position. And Tyson Campbell, holy God, does this guy have some traits. 23, Arizona Cardinals running back Travis Etienne of Clemson, the guy who fumbled away the Clemson win for me. 24, Baltimore Raven edge defender Carlos Basham Jr., Boogie Basham, if you will, out of Wake Forest. And at 25, you have the Green Bay Packers adding a receiver. This is a bold take, hot take, adding a receiver in the first round. Rashad Bateman.
I know. Unrealistic, right?
They're unrealistic, which is weird. I want to start there. Obviously, the Green Bay Packers want to add receiving talent alongside Devontae Adams to give Aaron Rodgers more weapons. Bateman and Adams have a very similar skill set. And people talk about building, the receiving core like a basketball team. You got to have your stretch four. You got to have a guy who can hit threes, all that type of stuff. I think, what's your opinion of that? And what's your opinion of adding a guy like Bateman who has a similar skill set?
See, when the Packers were really at their best, 2011, you had Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, all almost nearly identical sort of skill sets, and they had really good ball skills and really good route runners. No one was the designated deep threat. No one was the designated possession guy. So on any given play, any of them could do anything. I think that's kind of how you want to build a receiving core, kind of like what Dallas has down there, where any given now they haven't necessarily used it that way, where CeeDee Lamb just stays in the slot, but I think that they all have versatile skill sets. Rashad Bateman's another guy who he can do whatever you ask him to do, kind of like Devontae Adams. And I think the more guys you have like that, the more versatile you can be as an offense. So that would be like I really hope it's Packers fan if I can get Rashad Bateman.
I think the poor man's way of building a very good receiving core is building out like a basketball team, because you can get I want to bring up the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. You can get a Cole Beasley type for cheap. You don't have to draft him in the first round to get a Cole Beasley. You can add John Brown, a pure speedster that wasn't coveted by other people in the league, but you get him at a decent deal. But Stephon Diggs, that true route runner, that true separator, sticks mover, is a guy you trade a first round pick for to kind of complete that basketball team. If you want a receiving core like the Dallas Cowboys, you're going to have to trade multiple first round picks for Amari Cooper. You're going to have to spend a first round pick on CeeDee Lamb. What was Michael Gallup, a second round pick?
Guys,
you're going to have to spend to build a receiving core like the Dallas Cowboys. Fair. And in this situation, obviously, Devontae Adams is a otherworldly wide receiver, and you're spending a first round pick to try and get close to that. Let's talk Travis Etienne before we jump. I'm not taking Travis Etienne in the first round, Mike.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not either.
Okay.
But this Arizona Cardinals team, again, there's certain teams where a running back and their running ability could have value. And when you're pairing it up with a quarterback like Kyler Murray and you have two guys running like 4.3 40s in that backfield, it's scary for opposing defenses. You can do more with him when you're in a situation like that. And so,
I mean, I remember when we thought Travis Etienne was going to declare, and we kept talking about the fit to the Baltimore Ravens. Yep. Adding with that running with that quarterback, I think that speaks to that as well. That is a way that a running back can be actually a little bit more valuable in our eyes, is in an offense like that. The ones I want to highlight here, though, one, Trayvon Moehrig's playing out of his mind of late. The dude has 6 pass breakups in his last 3 games. Only allowed 5 of 15 catches over that span. He is balling for TCU. I think he's going to be a first rounder. And then Tyson Campbell, the one we talked about, physical tools, Indianapolis Colts,
That's what they covered at the cornerback position. 6'2", 200 pounds. They want those press cornerbacks if have been more than willing to take chances on those guys, defensive side of the ball, that haven't necessarily been lockdown guys, but they fit that defense.
Length, athleticism. I mean, that's exactly what they have there. Not with Xavier Rhodes much, but he has got length. And same with Rocky Seen, and same with Marvell Tell. And Darius Leonard. Like, they have these guys, Bobby Okereke.
I asked Darius Leonard last year, and when we did the live show, I said, do you ever look around the locker room and say, damn, we're like really long, all of us? And he said, no.
Wait, what? You asked him if you look around the locker room and ask if we're really long. I feel like that's an interesting question.
Okay, yeah,
that's not the best place to check that.
I phrased it better at the time, but he still said no.
I'm sorry. Do you ever look around the locker room and be like, man, we're really long? I freaking hope not. That's all I'll say that. All right, I'm going to read the last 3 picks here, and then we're going to jump to our segments. 26, Tennessee Titans wide receiver Rondale Moore of Purdue. I'm taking Moore over Bateman. I'm sorry. Okay. I like Moore over Bateman, and I'm going to stand by that. But you have him going just 1 pick after to the Tennessee Titans, which I like that a lot. New Orleans Saints take tight end Pat Freiermuth of Penn State, even after Adam Troutman's big game? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
And, I mean, they already have, what's his face?
Jared Cook.
No. I was going to say Taysom Hill is basically their
Taysom Hill, true. Oh, of course. Buffalo Bills cornerback Darion Kendrick, the former wide receiver that's now playing corner for Clemson, who has looked awesome, by the way. He is a hashtag fun to watch player. 29, Tampa Bay Buccaneers take edge defender Brenton Cox Jr., the king of the spin move. Have you seen this guy's spin moves? This guy's got an absolute, similar to Brian Burns. Brian Burns is like, his massive counter was a spin. Brenton Cox Jr. can turn it on. Kansas City Chiefs.
Spin was a good indication of like coordination in my book. And
athleticism and burst. You can't pull off a spin unless you got some legit juice.
Josh Allen had a shitty spin move in college.
There we are.
And now he's Brian Burns is better. So
Number 30, Kansas City Chiefs take linebacker Nick Bolton, the athletic piece there from Missouri. 31, the New York Jets via the Seattle Seahawks. They're not picking 31 because they get there. Via the Seattle Seahawks, offensive tackle Alex Leatherwood of Alabama. And 32, I kind of like this one. I want to start here. Quarterback Kyle Trask of Florida. Do you think he's worthy of a first-round pick? Are you going to have him inside the top 30, top 40 on your final big board, you think? Or do you think the quarterback position, as coveted as it is, you do see him sneaking into the first round?
That one's tough. He still needs to prove a little bit more to me because he's like a pure pocket guy. You're really not doing much more with him in terms of adding on to the running game, plays outside the pocket, and that's just, those guys are going away in the NFL. That just are. So, he has looked very good though this year, and this past week against Georgia was also another very good performance from him. So I just need to see more because last year was purely like a tools-based projection. He really did not make as many plays down the football field as he has so far this season. So I'm hesitant. Just give me more time. I'll just say.
Exciting mock draft, Mike. Make sure when's your next one coming out? Next month? Couple weeks?
Let's get. We got to see some more of the Pac-12 and get the NFL draft order shaken out here a little bit.
All right, we'll get more to that. But until next time, until the next mock, let's go ahead and jump now to. Before we jump, let's take a quick break. Hear from our sponsors. All right, let's dive into the Rolling Rooks here. The top 5 rookie performances from this past week. You go ahead and read them off.
Number 1 is going to be Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. It did not look like it was going to start that way. If you saw the throwaway that he had early on in the game, that was just. That was like a classic, like the game's moving too fast and I'm going to throw it away to a guy who almost picks it off out of bounds. That was awful, but honestly, the rest of the game from there was high-level quarterback play. He was playing lights-out football. The drive he had at the end of the third quarter where he had multiple plays, multiple scrambles, had a ridiculous third down conversion where he's throwing it before Devontae Parker's even stopping on a hitch route, going up against Patrick Peterson, picked on him twice and completed in front of him. That was a fantastic performance from Tua Tagovailoa, so he deserves the #1 spot this week in the Rolling Rooks.
Yeah, that throwaway was interesting. He almost came down with that interception. But I thought Tua Tagovailoa, what I felt like I was most impressed with, late in that game, he turns it on and really looks good under pressure. He had a couple of scrambles that really saved them from sacks and moved the chains on multiple gains there. And also, he's putting some juice on some of those throws. Everyone hates his arm, and I don't think he has a great arm by any means, but he was putting enough on there. He was putting enough on there to fit into some windows.
Yeah, it looks a little stronger than what we saw at Alabama, and I think
he's
George
recovering
had the
from
take.
That hip and just firing a tennis ball at the hospital.
George had the take that he's stronger from rehabbing, and he definitely looks a little more solid than he did at Alabama in terms of just his size.
Who's number 2?
Number 2 on the list, Jerry Jeudy. that the go fake touchdown was just absurd. That hitch route he left, was it AJ Terrell, just dusted him. Like that was to blow past a guy like that gets you a spot on this list also. But he had over 100 yards on the day. Yeah, he had a drop. Yeah, he had a fumble, whatever. I don't really care about that. The getting open part, he was good at.
I thought, so obviously there's the one where he throws up the hand and then stops and then makes the touchdown against AJ Terrell. Sam Monson on the NFL podcast was saying, that's a move you don't use until you're 5 years in your... Buddy, I'm using that in flag football all day long, okay? I've been selling that deep and turning back. I don't have as smooth of a cut, I'll tell you that, but I've been selling the deep route with the hand up since I was 5 years old. I'll just say that right now. Jerry Jeudy's taking it after me.
I think also, though, the one go ball he had was almost as impressive.
Yes.
Because he gave the guy the little, the ball's not coming my way, and then turned it on. Like he gave a slow up and then turned on the juice at the end to like, he was hip to hip, like had not stacked the DB. I forget who it was, maybe Kendall Sheffield, and then just turned it on.
He was varying speeds really well. Yes. I put in my notes multiple times that sometimes out of his release, he'd come out like a bat out of hell, and sometimes he'd kind of slow it up and then turn it on down late. I thought, again, he's an elite route runner, one of the best route runners in the NFL right now. Like that's how good Jerry Jeudy is. I love what he put on tape this past week. Number 3, I'm going to go ahead and say this name. I really like what Devon Hamilton has done. Like Devon Hamilton, the defensive tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars, a former Ohio State standout, also went to the Senior Bowl. I will say this. He's still kind of just a guy as a pass rusher. Like, I mean, I still feel like he pushes the pocket a bit. He's not like a guy who wins early in the snap, who's just like has this like big club move or anything like that. But he pushes the pocket well and is rarely beat against the run. He had one play in this game where I felt like he got beat on a double team. But outside of that, you give him one-on-one situations, like he's flowing to the ball well and really affecting the play.
Yeah, and this was, he was going up against Nick Martin. It was no slouch. It's not like he's going up against some backup guard and dominating. 4 pressures in this one. And the thing I loved about him is, you kind of said he's not a great pass rusher, but to me, he knows who he is, and he's not trying to be Aaron Donald as a pass rusher. He's not throwing a ton of moves at you. He's just getting off the ball, getting in your pads, and then trying to bull rush you back in the quarterback, just trying to collapse the pocket. He knows who he's going to be at the NFL level, and I think he did it really well in this game. And that was a really nice, impressive kind of all-around performance, and he gets so low off the ball. Like I think as in terms of run defense, you've seen the switch from him flip, and he's going to be one of the better nose tackles in the league sooner here rather than later.
Number 4, Damian Lewis.
Yes, Damian Lewis, probably his best game as a pro. I believe he didn't allow a single pressure. And then my favorite rep, though, was I think it was in the middle of the third quarter. It was a rushing touchdown. He gets Ed Oliver going upfield, use the slingshot move on him, which if you don't know the slingshot move, it's kind of like the guy's getting upfield, then you just use his momentum to throw him even farther upfield so that the running back has just a massive crease to run through. That's not like a move rookies do. When we talk about the throwing up the hand, Jerry Jeudy, this one's probably even more impressive. You don't see rookies doing the slingshot move at the NFL level this early on in their career. So I think seeing that from a guy like Damian Lewis, just because of how quickly you have to make that decision to go for it, really encouraging for him. And obviously he's been great in the run game all year long.
Yeah, he's been grading really well. He's been grading really well, and a handful of those like positively graded plays have been him at the line of scrimmage just burying some kids. But in this game, I thought there was some really impressive reps at the second level, like get in front of Trayman Edmonds, get in front of the other linebacker there. Like I thought his second level blocks too were really impressive in this one of his better games. I think I read the NFL Takeaways article that came out on PFF.com. It's one of the highest single game grades we've ever given a guard. Dating back even to 2006 in a single game. So Damian Lewis showing out, the former LSU guy. One of my favorite guys to interview too. The guy who's like, I just want to kill people. I do it for my mom. I was like, oh wait, you're hurting people for your mom. He's like, yeah. I was like, wow, this guy's got talent.
Built different.
Number 5.
Number 5, Neville Gallimore, Dallas Cowboys, and boy, did they need someone at the defensive tackle position to look good. And he did in this one. Obviously, he has struggled a bit this year heading into this one, but in the run game, looked like a different dude in this one. Like he was getting upfield, altering the line of scrimmage, had a handful of disruptive plays, and also 3 stops in the run game. Like 3rd round pick, very athletic, kind of a phone booth guy. Still don't trust him to be ever much as a pass rusher, but they just needed someone to really step up in the run game because those DTs suck for Dallas right now.
I thought what was impressive for him, I think some of his best reps at Oklahoma is where he'd explode off the ball and just fly into the backfield kind of uncontrolled And then, the penetration was good, maybe disrupts the play. I thought he was disruptive without being over penetrative. I didn't think he was singing into the backfield.
Over penetrative.
I remember, and this is probably stupid for you even to say, but I remember when I was getting coached in high school, there were sometimes where you say you can get too much penetration on a run block or against the run. If you can
was the argument against Aaron Donald, right?
Yeah, maybe it is the argument against Aaron Donald, but I think he was getting proper penetration, staying in his gap, staying at the line of scrimmage, more controlled, more balanced, and making plays against the run. I thought, again, a lot of people on Twitter were saying it's Neville Gallimore's kind of coming out party. I thought he looked really good in that game as well. All right, raise a glass segment here. Moving to college football. Two names that we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast, and another one that if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you might have heard this name before. Undersized Iowa offensive lineman, super athletic, that's playing well. Go ahead and give it to me.
Raise a glass for Tyler Linderbaum, the center for Iowa. And so we talked about him before. He was defensive line as a freshman, switched to center last year, played at 265, 270 pounds. He looked so out of place. Now, up to 289, doesn't look out of place. Doesn't look quite as athletic as he was last year. Isn't flying around quite as much, but still very athletic and has yet to allow a pressure this season. 89.2 grade this past week against Michigan State. Has an 85.4 grade on the season. I didn't think he would come out this year as a redshirt sophomore. I thought it was a pipe dream, but man, he's playing really well. And
I still think he needs to add some beef.
He does, but I do think the leap we've seen from him this season in terms of how much bigger he's gotten, how well he's playing this year, I could see him, if he plays like this the rest of the Big Ten season, I could see him getting a high grade from the NFL and being willing to make the leap.
Number 2 on this list is Zach Wilson of BYU, who just lit Boise State on fire. I don't think the turf at Boise is blue anymore; it's red, and it's because Zach Wilson just torched him.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of mentioned coming out parties. This was kind of the world seeing Zach Wilson being like, oh, this guy's fucking awesome. He just really is a legit quarterback prospect. And it's the arm talent that I consistently am like, damn, just these off-platform, moving to his left, rolling to his right. They move him a lot in that offense, in that BYU offense, because he can do it and do it really well. And his ability to throw on the move. I'm not sure there's anyone better in college football right now doing it on the move than him. He just is very accurate when asked to make off-platform throws.
And he's doing it without who was arguably going to be their top-rated skill player, Matt Bushman. Bushman was supposed to be this tight end that everyone liked coming. You didn't like Bushman?
He wasn't that good though, but
Bushman was dominating for BYU in 2019.
Yeah.
Okay. He's doing it with Mitt Romney's son now, Gunnar Romney out there making plays. I love when you bring up the off-platform stuff, because I feel like you can find really quickly a kid's arm talent when he's making these throws off platform. Yeah. It's what we've seen. It's the exact throws that make the highlight reel for Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. It's when you're off platform, out of structure, and you're trying to sling it. And when you see it from Zach Wilson, even his incompletions look good. He can really, really put some juice on the ball. And when you're playing bad competition, small sample size, baby face, all that stuff doesn't matter if you're putting heat on the football, as every single team wishes they had Kyler Murray. Every single team wishes they had a Patrick Mahomes, a Josh Allen, these guys that can really spin it in the NFL right now. Last name on the list is a guy we talked about a ton and we'll continue to talk about probably throughout April's draft, is Kwity Paye of Michigan. 5 pressures. He's been just insane this year, legitimately insane.
Yes, he has 19 pressures now through 3 games. And in this one, he had 10 we call blocks defeated, where he won as pass rusher. Didn't end up resulting in a pressure because the ball got out of his hands because, Michigan was getting housed by Michael Penix Jr., which you love to see. And the thing was, it wasn't just, I'm Kwity Paye, I'm a freak athlete, I'm going to run through your offensive tackle, which was kind of that's how Rashawn Gary won. When Rashawn Gary was even at his best, it was he's just going to go right through you, and that's fine. You need a plan B. You saw it all, rip move, bull rush, high swipe. You saw a ton of different moves from him to where it wasn't just kind of, I'm a physical freak. It was, I got some real polish behind me at this point. And that's, like I said, at the top of the show, I feel pretty confidently that this is going to be your first edge drafted in the 2021 draft at this point.
Where do you think his 3-cone ends up? I can't get on board with him having a better 3-cone.
3-cone watch? Do we do a 3-cone watch every week? This week, I think it's going to be 6-4.
But there's no way he's got a better 3-cone than Tyreek Hill. That's where he's currently projected. People. No,
I know that
not projected, but reportedly has run a 6.3 or something. What was the 3-cone report?
6.37. I would bet he ends up. So Von Miller is 6.7 flat. I would bet he ends up around 6.75, 6.8.
If he breaks 6'7".
J.J. Watt was like 6'9", I want to say. And that was pretty freaky because J.J. Watt's 290. So 6, but to me, to be more freaky than J.J. Watt, I just like, I don't quite like the J.J. Watt's a monster. So I'm gonna go 6'7", 5".
Can you imagine? One reason I love the combine.
272 pounds.
One reason I love the combine is just how much Twitter just explodes when these guys like run fast times. Like when Antonio Gibson ran the 4.39, and when
are they going to show the 3-cone this year though?
Who knows? Who knows?
If Kwity Paye is going to run a 6.37, they better show that fucking 3-cone.
Damn live, okay? I want to see that thing live and with people in the stands. Maybe not with COVID, but I want. I was going to say I
want a packed house at Lucas Oil. I want everyone wear a mask. No way, we'll have the vaccine by then, so we're good.
Hopefully.
Everyone pack the house for Kwity Paye's 3-cone. All
right, last segment of the day. And I hate to end negative here, but it's the blackout segment. And this guy's well-deserving a blackout. And I will say this name is big in the fantasy community right now. People are up in arms, ready to just kill people over how poorly this guy has performed despite like expected volume and all that type of stuff. It's Indianapolis Colts rookie running back Jonathan Taylor.
He's not been good. And in fact, he's been bad. And this past week, he had a fumble that kind of
benched him,
killed him. Yeah, because went back for a touchdown on the hilarious Phillip Rivers.
Yes, the one where he like falls on the back.
That was awful. Yeah. But he's broken only 8 tackles on 106 attempts. And we said this coming out that he is not a shifty running back. I get that his testing was freakish and he is this monster athlete, whatever, but he did not shake guys in the open field. He was a between the tackles runner that could grind out yards consistently, and he has not been doing it. He doesn't look decisive at all. Like he never cranks it up at all in the Indianapolis Colts offense. It's just scary to see because running back's position where the good ones translate like right out the gate. You look good or you don't right out the gate. You kind of know.
Dude, you want to talk about leash? Rookie running backs have a short leash, my friend. I know they spent a decently high pick on him, so he'll have some more run. But like,
that's what I'm saying. It's because if you know a guy either has it or he doesn't pretty quickly. It seems like at that position.
But I think you have to bring it up, and you said it. It's the indecisiveness. Like he doesn't look confident running behind this offensive line, the new system, whatever it may be. Like he does not. He's not putting his foot in the ground and doing what he did at Wisconsin because that's where he won. He put his foot in the ground, found the open hole, didn't break a ton of tackles, but just took it to the house. And you just have not seen that level of confidence and decisiveness from Jonathan Taylor. That's going to do it for. Go ahead.
And I was gonna say I think the reason people are so willing to draft running backs highly is because they feel like it's a safe pick.
Absolutely.
Because it looks like a safe pick because you can give them 250 carries and they're going to get 1,000 yards. But I think time and time again, we see guys who are supposed can't miss. Jonathan Taylor, it looks like a miss. Like he does
missing though on a running back is dreadful. I was talking to someone from Kansas City who was saying,
like they're torpedoing their offense because they're trying to shoehorn him carries because they think he's supposed to be good.
Yeah. I was talking to a guy from Kansas City who said, well, I like taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire over some of these cornerbacks we could have taken or linebackers because it's a higher floor pick. You're getting a good player. Right. And I said, man, I don't think the floor is worth it. Like you need to chase in the first round better talent. I'd say in the top 50, top 60 picks, you need to chase the higher ceilings at other positions of higher value, especially with that rare opportunity where you see Jonathan Taylor not really panning out. I'm not saying he's done. He's not a bust by any means, but not panning out early, and that is really concerning for his fans and the Indianapolis Colts. All right, that's going to do it for the Monday episode here of 2-for-1 Drafts. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. We're getting a ton of fun comments. I read in the comments, I need to slow down. I tried to slow down a little bit today. I'm not good at slowing down. I got one speed.
I was gonna say I didn't recognize any slower, but I'm sure you did try.
I tried. I tried.
You guys have to realize he talks like this in real life. Like there's no radio voice going here.
I got one speed and it's go. Yeah. Like that's all I have, and it's unfortunate. I'm trying to talk slower. I'm trying to make plays here, but leave some positive comments, rate and review to the podcast. Keep food on the table until the Wednesday episode. Mike Renner again will be in studio. He is back. Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, 2-for-1 Drafts.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.